We'd like to start the press conference by Minister Kamikawa. Minister, the floor is yours. Thank you. I would like to share one matter. From the 6th through the 8th of March, His Excellency Dr. Jai Shankar, Minister of External Affairs of India, will pay an official working visit to Japan upon invitation from the Minister of Foreign Affairs. And on the evening of the 7th of March, we will be holding the 16th Japan-India Foreign Minister Strategic Dialogue. This will be the second meeting between myself and Minister Jai Shankar, and the second time since the first meeting back in September last year. In today's global community, where division and conflict is deepening, there is need for co-creation, where new solutions are being created together through dialogue and collaboration. So from that standpoint, we attach great importance to our relationship with India, a country which embraces diversity, has a distinctive history of democracy, and is the leader of the global South. Japan and India, under the Special Strategic Global Partnership, has deepened its cooperation in a broad range of areas toward the realization of free and open Indo-Pacific, and has closely coordinated through the Quad as well as the G4 forums. Through the meeting this time, I hope to confirm our cooperation toward further strengthening of our bilateral relationship and hope to have candid exchange of views in relation to various regional and international situations. That is all for myself. Thank you very much.
それではご質問
If you have any questions, please raise your hand and please come to the microphone after your appointment and mention your name and affiliation. NHK, please. Igarashi from NHK. I have a question about Russia. The new ambassador from Russia, Ambassador Nikolai Nozdrev, arrived 2 days ago in Japan. After Russia's aggression to Ukraine, bilateral relationship has worsened, but finally we have an ambassador which is vacant for more than 1 year. How do you accept his arrival, and do you plan to have any meetings with the new ambassador? The Russian ambassador, Ambassador Nozdrev, I'm aware he arrived on the 3rd of March. Aggression of Russia into Ukraine is an outrage that shakes the basics of the international order, and we will continue to take approaches such as strict sanctions. At the same time, on issues that must be responded to as neighbors, such as economic activities, such as fisheries, in terms of the whole diplomacy of Japan, we will take appropriate measures from the perspective of what will contribute to Japan's national interests. And on top of that, on the issue of northern territories, we will maintain the policy of signing a peace treaty after resolving the territorial issue. With Ambassador Nozdrev, based on this policy, I intend to make necessary exchanges. And on your question as to whether there will be an interview or meeting with Ambassador Nozdrev, there's no specific date yet decided.
Next question. Kyodo Press, please. Thank you. Hidema from Kyodo. I'd like to ask about the United States. On the 5th of this month, there'll be a concentration of caucuses as well as primaries. The so-called Super Tuesday will be held. So, but Super Tuesday is now at a very critical point. That actually shows a critical point. Your views about this situation in the presidential election in the United States, please, Minister. Thank you. The U.S.-Japan alliance is indeed the linchpin of Japan's diplomacy and security policy. As far as Japan is concerned, we continue to monitor the situation pertaining to the U.S. presidential election with great interest. Now, having said that, on top of that, the bond and ties between Japan and the United States has deepened further through the year when Japan served as the G7 presidency. And we believe that the coordination between Japan and the United States has never been as solid and deep as now. As far as the importance of the U.S.-Japan security alliance is concerned, I believe there is an understanding. nonpartisan understanding in the United States about its importance. So as far as the government is concerned, they're going to make efforts so they will be able to further strengthen our relationship with the United States. Thank you.
ご質問どうぞ。
Next question, please. Tokyo Shimbun, Nakazawa-san. Nakazawa from Tokyo Shimbun. This 1 year since ROK President Yoon Suk-yeol came to Japan and talked with Prime Minister Kishida. It's 1 year since then. Shuttle diplomacy between the leaders has returned and bilateral relationship has greatly improved. On the other hand, in South Korea, there has been court rulings which the Japanese companies lost on the subject of former civilian workers. There are voices in Japan for Japan to take response measures. How do you evaluate the relationship with ROK during the last 1 year, and then plan to take additional measures about the subject of the former civilian workers? Japan and ROK are important neighboring countries that should cooperate as partners in responding to various matters of international community. Since last year, under the leadership of both leaders, bilateral relationship has been moving actively. Not only last year, there were 7 leaders meeting and 6 foreign ministers meeting. In March last year, the ROK government announced the measures on the issues of former civilian workers from the Korean Peninsula, and since then, bilateral relationship, dialogue, and cooperation has returned, getting out from stagnation, and we have seen expansion both in quality and quantity in terms of politics, security, economy, and culture. And under the current tough strategic situation, I believe cooperation between Japan, US, and ROK is developing in a multi-layered method. Such an expansion was possible as a result of efforts of the both countries, and I believe is extremely significant, contributing to strategic interest of Japan. As for the Japanese government, including the issue of the civilian workers on various subjects, we will continue to closely communicate with ROK and implement measures so that the people of both countries can continuously feel the improvement of bilateral relations.
ではパンオリン
Mr. Azuhari, please. Next question, please go ahead.
Thank you. Gunazari, Pan Orient News. I would like to ask about the West Asia region. Syria has accused Israel of a series of bombings in various cities, all resulting in civilian death, including an American citizen in the city of Homs recently. Israel has neither admitted nor denied the bombings. But what is Japan's position in principle over such attacks? And do you condemn such bombing that continue to take innocent lives and destabilize the Middle East? Thank you.
Yes, we are aware of the recent reports within Syria, but we also understand that Israel has not made any comment, inclusive of whether or not they were involved in this bombing or not. In any event, Japan will continue to monitor the overall situation in the Middle East with a great sense of urgency, and we will continue to work closely with relevant countries, and we will patiently and actively continue our diplomatic efforts so that the situation in Gaza will calm down as soon as possible, so that we'll be able to contribute to the stabilization of the region. Thank you. Next question.
さんどうぞ。
Next question, IWJ. Hamamoto from IWJ. I have a question about the situation in Ukraine. Mr. Navalny, the Russian anti-establishment activist, died in prison, and the leaders of US or Europe are strongly criticizing that he was killed under instruction of President Putin. But Ukraine's comment is that that was a natural death. But President Macron of France at this timing has heated up and has mentioned that he will do whatever he can by supplying long-range missiles to Ukraine and even sending ground forces from the West. If this happens, the battle will intensify, and this may lead to a world-scale war. Will the Japanese government keep standing on the side of Ukraine, and is there any possibility that Japan will participate in this war? Russia's aggression into Ukraine is an outrage that shakes the basics of international order. Europe, Atlantic, and Indo-Pacific security are inseparable, and such a unilateral change of status quo using force should not be allowed. With this understanding, Japan, with like-minded countries, including the G7, we are working together to stop Russia's aggression so that just and permanent peace will be realized in Ukraine as soon as possible. And we are implementing sanctions against Russia, and we are strongly promoting support for Ukraine. Going forward, including the G7, with the international community, will work together to provide support for Ukraine as much as possible. And on top of that, generally speaking, sending armed forces to territorial land, sea, or air of other countries for the purpose of exercising force exceeds the minimum necessary limit that is needed for self-defense and is not allowed under the Constitution.
次のご質問どうぞ。では、読売新
Next question, Kamiura-san from Yomiuri Shimbun, please. Thank you, Kamiura from Yomiuri. I want to ask about AUKUS. The U.S. is now considering technical cooperation between AUKUS and Japan. Have they contacted you? What is the level? What is the status of coordination? There should be an official proposal. What type of cooperation will be possible in this context? Thank you. Thank you. The question that was addressed to me right now, I do not have details on hand. Having confirmed that, I would like to respond to your question. Thank you for your understanding.
のご質問どうぞ。
Next question, please. Asahi Shimbun, Takahashi-san. Takahashi from Asahi Shimbun. From the 6th Uzbekistan foreign minister is coming, and I believe you are planning to talk with him. Relationship with Central Asia. This year, we're planning to have the leaders' meeting. So towards that meeting, and including that, what kind of talks do you plan to have? The Uzbekistan foreign minister is coming to Japan. And meanwhile, relationship with Japan is progressing in a very good manner through frank exchange of views. I hope we can further strengthen bilateral relationship, and including Central Asia. We hope we can contribute to the peace and stability of the region and also discuss about further cooperation.
では、最後に
Last question, Mr. Azahari. The final question. Please go ahead.
Thank you again. Hello, Azari, Panorama News. My question is about Russia. Parliament member Munio Suzuki has reportedly said that any hope for Japan to have Russia return the North Islands is meaningless if Japan continues to impose sanctions on Russia. So are you passing over the second year anniversary, as we are passing over the second year anniversary of that war? Do you believe that there is a diplomatic solution to the Ukrainian issue, or do you believe that war is the only solution to liberate Ukraine? Thank you.
Yes, the Russian aggression into Ukraine is a reckless act that shakes the very foundation of international order. Russia continues to carry out attacks against the Ukraine. Also, President Putin has hinted that the parts of Ukraine that was annexed would not be subject to any negotiations. He has made comments to that extent. So therefore, Russia shows no signs of making compromise toward peace. Now, against that backdrop, I think it is Japan's responsibility that we work toward halting aggression of Russia into Ukraine. And it's important that we carry out sanctions against Russia and also promote support against Ukraine so that we'll be able to realize just and everlasting peace in Ukraine as soon as possible. Thank you.
会見以上とさせて
Thank you. This concludes the press conference.